What's up everyone, Tim here from Everyday Tactical Vids. Today we're looking at this, which is the brand new TOPS Yacare. It's a machete style blade designed by Craig Powell from TOPS. This is his first knife that he has designed and it's gone into production. And really cool looking. I saw this at SHOT Show, I think 2017. Was anxious to get my hands on it. Now I have it and yeah, it comes sharp. Good looking blade. Let's put this thing to use. Got a couple larger sticks here that I want to put into the ground as supports for part of my Bushcraft base camp. So let's put kind of a point on these with the Jacare. So I've only done a tiny bit of chopping what you've seen so far. I can already tell you, you want to make sure to adjust your lanyard properly. I generally like to try chopping tools, knives, whatever, without a lanyard first and then maybe add the lanyard later. I tried this one with the lanyard immediately and it wasn't adjusted to the right settings. So two quick options when it comes to setting up your lanyard. Kind of a standard loop like this that you run your hand through and then you grab onto the blade like so. Now this is a little bit loose, so what you can do is twist it. Nope, it's a little bit loose. Twist it. Okay, now that's got a good tension there where I've got a good grip on the handle, but it's giving me a little tension here. The other way that people sometimes set up a lanyard is so they can run their hand through like so and then grab it this way. Now this is too loose, but if you have a good amount of tension there, that also gives you a good lock in. So those are two lanyard setups. The way I'm setting mine up is basically 2 twists or 3 twists. I guess that's 2 because that's a little too tight. 2 twists, looping it over like that. Now I've got a lot more control of the Jacare. Here's a bunch more chopping done by the Jacare, just messing around out here in the woods. I'm sure that processing firewood for the Jacare will be no problem, but let's show it to you on camera here. We'll get some small wood and then work up to some larger wood. This piece of wood is just about 1 inch across and we're about, I don't know, 80% of the way through it. And that was without a very hard swing. So let's give it a little bit more power behind the chop this time. And there you go. A little bit of a softer wood with pine here. This is getting up to a larger piece of wood. I don't know if it's going to be able to chop straight through, but we'll see here. Yep, and you can see that's a clean cut. It didn't really snap the piece off. Maybe a little bit, but pretty clean cut there, I would say. Do another piece here. Yep. One more. If you guys know anybody who lives in Central or South America, you've probably heard the idea that a machete is just a go-to tool. I have a buddy who lives in Argentina down in South America. And he's like, yeah, I use my machete for everything. And, you know, everybody who's out doing work outside uses a machete. Not primarily as like a wood processing tool, though it can do that, but, you know, much more for slicing, chopping, clearing underbrush, things like that. So when you look at the Jacare, you'll see that it's thicker than your average machete, but it's not going to be processing wood like maybe the Machete from TOPS is. It's looking like a good all-around camp tool to me right now. But because it does have that big belly, we're going to do some slicing. There's a couple down trees in the area here that still have some growth on them. So I'm just going to clear away some of the branches and we're going to test out the slicing and kind of brush clearing ability of the Jacare. I do want to show you guys here that it is slicing. As you can tell, it's not just snapping the branches off, that's clearly slicing through the wood. See if we can get some curls here, get a feather stick started. Let's try different sizes or locations on the blade. Still getting some nice fine curls though. So this thing is definitely not going to feather stick like the Puko, but you could say it's still getting the job done. All right, we're going to do some batoning now, and usually I like to use wood that's from the woods, but everything out here today in New Hampshire is pretty wet. So this is some firewood that I purchased so that if I have to do some batoning, I've got some ready to go. So here we go. Definitely gets the job done. One of my favorite ways to get fire started is using birch bark. So let's see about getting maybe some shavings of the birch bark with the Jacare. Just kind of cut through this wet layer here, expose some of that dry birch bark. You can see even, I mean, this is like kind of like skinning a tree here, but even with that slicing, the Jacare is still able to do it. Obviously be careful because it's a big blade. You don't want to slice yourself. It'd be easy to stab your hand as you're doing something like this. So let's clear that off. And here's a bunch of birch bark shavings using the Jacare. So I've tried the spine a bit with the Jacare and a Firesteel, and we're not getting anything at all. If you really work it up toward the tip, you might be able to get a spark, but it's certainly not, you know, your 90-degree spine is not something that most 90% of the TOPS knives you're out there are not going to give that to you, but I do have my Firesteel here and the Tanamboka Puko from TOPS, so let's ignite this just for kicks. Let's talk through some details on the Jacare. Your end-to-end length is 15.5 inches. Your blade length, so the actual steel that's exposed there, is 10.25 and 9.88 for your cutting edge. We do have micarta handles. It is 1095 high carbon steel. And it also has the acid rain wash as far as your finish, which I actually, I like that one a lot. A couple additional thoughts on the knife here. Nice high grind on the blade. Again, it is 1095, so make sure that you wash it off, dry it off, and get some oil on it when you're done using it. I saw Dan from Dogwood Custom Knives and Tyler and Joe, who were on the Bushcraft Global Adventure together, I think it was last year. They put a video together talking about the prototype of this. They were concerned about the handle a little bit. I don't find the handle uncomfortable. I think they maybe in the original prototype they were nervous that it was they were going to get some blisters. The handle's good for me. Again, I have large size hands. One thing I will tell you is that because the weight is not overwhelming, you do have to swing pretty hard when you want to cut through some thicker wood or process some thicker wood. So make sure you get a good grasp on it, and definitely get yourself locked in with that lanyard. However you have it set up, make sure you got good control of the knife before you start chopping with it. Let me show you the handle real quick. It looks like we got some white liners in there, which is really cool. They may be like a very light gray, but those look really cool. Actually, on TOPS website, it looks like they have red liners in here just by the nature of the angle and the camera and stuff, which red liners in there would look pretty beastly too. But I do like that kind of grayish, those grayish white liners as well. Let's look at your sheath system here quickly. Standard ballistic nylon that you're going to get from TOPS. It does have like a thin plastic liner inside to keep you from slicing the ballistic nylon. You do have a pocket here in front. It does come with a whistle. There's your belt loop that is stitched in, so you're not gonna, it's not Velcro that you're gonna, you know, loosen up and then tighten back down. Yeah, I mean, nothing to write home about, kind of standard for what TOPS offers for a lot of their knives and tools. If you're gonna get the Jacare and you're like, I love this knife, then just get a custom sheath made, Kydex, whatever else you want to do. As it is, it's gonna suffice. It's gonna carry your knife just fine. But yeah, kind of it does the job, is what I'll say. Let me throw out some initial impressions of the Jacare. First thing I'll tell you is that I've got like a personal bias, I think, toward the blade, just because I've gotten to know Craig over the years. We're not like best buds or anything, but I see him at all the shows and we talk and we're emailing throughout the year. I'm just, you know, I like his design. I'm glad it's out on the market. I think it's going to do well. So well done, Craig. As far as this item and how it fits into systems and, you know, what you're going to be doing in the woods, this is not built to replace your standard machete, in my opinion. You know, a standard machete's got a lot more flex. This at 0.19 inches, I think, is going to be a great kind of multi-use tool in camp. So with that big belly, it's going to slice well. It can process wood, it can chop, it can baton, and you can also do some of that detail work. This handle is comfortable for me. My challenge with some TOPS handles is that they're just too thin. This one is a good size for me. It feels comfortable. Again, large size hands for me. And that's a big deal. You know, when I hold a knife, I don't want to have to constantly be readjusting it to try and get it to be comfortable. So it's comfortable. Some people are going to talk about, well, I wish you put a 90-degree spine on it. That's just a TOPS thing. Check out my video. I think I called it Why Are TOPS Knives So Expensive? And I basically asked Craig 3 questions. One of them is about the 90-degree spine, and you know, they talk about their heat treat process, and that's why you're not going to get a 90-degree spine on this and a lot of TOPS knives. But for me, not a make or break thing. Something I did want to mention to you is that if you like the ESEE Junglas, but you want something that's a little bit lighter and it's got more belly, the Jacare may be a good option for you to check out. Very similar in size, in as far as your cutting edge, the length of that, but you're going to save about 5 ounces, a little bit more than 5 ounces with the Jacare versus the Junglas. And then, you know, there's a couple things that are just different about it, but overall your grind and then your blade shape are the main things that are going to stand out. And again, you'll save a little weight by going with the Jacare over the ESEE Junglas. Now, I will say to you, I really do like the ESEE Junglas a lot, but this is something kind of in that category, but it's going to have some different tweaks. On their website, TOPS is calling this a medium to heavy machete. I can see that, but once again, I'm going to just call this a good overall camp tool, multi-use, large knife for when you're out in the woods. Something I've been thinking about a lot recently has been like knife and cutting systems in the woods. So if you have a folding saw and a chopper and a small knife, or a folding saw, a knife and an axe, you know, how do they all fit together to be an effective system? So for me, I think if you take the Jacare and combine it in a system with the Puko, again, both these knives from TOPS, you're going to have a very good system. If you need something a lot bigger than the Jacare to do some really aggressive chopping, you should probably have an axe. You know, if you're going to be cutting down tons of trees and making, you know, a pretty massive shelter, I would get an axe. It's just going to be easier to do that. But as far as processing things in the woods, chopping some wood so you can, you know, get some small structures built, or just general wood processing for fire and other tasks, the Jacare is going to do the job. And then when it comes to some of that detail work, the Puko is going to be really good. So this system right here, I think if you invested in this, you'd be quite happy with it. It's going to do a good job for what you need in the woods. All right, guys, we've been talking about the TOPS Yacare, and I want to hear in the comments from you, how do you see this knife fitting into your systems? So overall, I'd love to hear your comments, but in particular, I'd love to see, you know, how you see this fitting into your bushcraft system, your survival system, your camping system, whatever it is. Does this become a primary chopping tool? Is it a secondary chopping tool? Is it a large camp knife? Let's hear your thoughts on that. Thanks as always for checking out the videos. I have a couple more for you right there, all queued up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Everyday Tactical Vids here on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, check us out on Instagram and Tumblr as well. And as always, more videos coming soon. Take care, guys. Wow. Planes, 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 planes. Go away. Just go to your airport.